did it on purpose. Like, you talking about that? Tons and tons of people. It's stuck on there, and then it pops in, and it's called a pop socket. Where have I seen those pop sockets? I've seen them.
Where's Sarah at tonight?
A lot of people have been using for promotional stuff, because I've had some.
I don't know.
There's a store at Crown Center I know they have, an electronics store, but I'm sure there are other places too. You can get them on Amazon.
Pop socket, is that
Pop
what
socket.
show up or we want to put for?
Pop socket, all one word.
I'll remember that.
But I didn't go home to get my iPad,
Software engineering.
so I have to do it all on my phone.
On my
Oh, he's doing your upgrade?
Yeah.
Sure.
He's
Sure.
updating it.
Is that yours?
Jefferson City.
Is that mine?
That's yours. It's not mine.
Where's yours at? You left it at
Yeah, I left it at home because I had to come right to here because I was late.
I just happened, I was just going through really fast. It's like, stop, go back up again. There he is. There he is. Yeah, yeah, there's not, it's, there he is. Yeah.
I pulled in Anita today. It was late for 6 o'clock in the morning. Uh-oh. I know.
Phone's going off over here.
And then my phone was buzzing.
Let's call this meeting to order. City of North Kansas City, Missouri, regular council meeting, March 6, 2018. Can we have a moment of silence? Brian? Okay, comments from the public? Hearing none. Consent agenda?
I move the consent agenda be presented for us as a yes.
Second.
Approved as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 11.
Award of contract, Armor Road Complete Street Engineering, resolution number 18-11.
Eric?
Thank you, sir. I'll call on the Community Development Director, Sarah Copeland.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The item before you tonight is the approval of a contract with WSP. They were the consultant that we worked with on our Armor Road Complete Street Implementation Plan. And that plan identified 5 main implementation steps for improvements to Armor Road to make it a safe travel environment for all users that is sustainable, visually appealing, and economically vibrant. So step number 1 in implementation was to make improvements to the transition and commercial zones identified in that plan, basically from Fayette to Ozark. And step number 4 was to phase in placemaking improvements, aesthetic improvements, along the street. This contract is for the engineering work to enable us to move forward on both of those implementation steps. We did put out a request for qualifications from engineering firms to identify the most qualified engineer to work with us on this project. We received 4 submittals, and we did interview WSP and decide that they were the best qualified for this. Jay Abers, who also worked on our implementation plan with WSP, is here tonight. If you would have any questions of him, he would be happy to answer those.
That was one of my questions, the placemaking improvements. You said that's aesthetic things, or can you maybe expound on what those are?
Sure. Placemaking is a great made-up term for improvements that are aesthetic, artistic, to improve the place, to attract people and make the place more inviting and welcoming. So placemaking can be lots of different things. It can be just visual improvements, it can be site furnishings, it can be landscaping, it could be art. It's just a general term meant to encompass things that are not just the way the road functions in terms of its striping and curb and gutter and infrastructure.
And then this is concentrating on the transition and commercial zones only then, correct?
Yes, and from Fayette east to Ozark.
Thank you.
Move to approve? Oh, sorry.
Okay, North Kansas City starts on State Highway. I mean, is there is that gonna be kinda, are they gonna work together or something? Because, you know, I mean, number one highway comes down to Ozark. Are you gonna be working with the state as far as trying to blend it all together, or?
We are primarily focusing on improvements in the city right-of-way, and part of this contract, and Jay, you could stand up there and help me answer. There may be some transitional work that's needed on the MoDOT right-of-way, but we're primarily focusing on our right-of-way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like Sarah said, I'm Jay Aber. I'm representative of WSP. Yeah, this project is going to focus on the Fayette to Ozark area, especially with the limited time frame, so we can avoid any issues with permitting or coordination with MoDOT for this first phase, but we'll definitely be coordinating with MoDOT in terms of making sure that our improvements today work with any plans they have, and then we'll work with plans that we have for the remainder of the area through the MoDOT right-of-way.
Okay, thank you.
The motion on the floor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Whoa.
Side letter, KCPL overhead lines relocation in Armour Road redevelopment area, bill number 7278, ordinance number 9075.
Eric?
Thank you, sir. I'll call on the city councilor, Tom Barzee.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, before you this evening is a side letter agreement to the contract services agreement for Mill Street, what is now known, that's the title of the contract, what is now known, of course, as Diamond Parkway. And in that, in that contract, there's an exhibit, and it identifies line items on how much everything is to cost. As you'll recall, this is a contract that you folks needed to approve because ultimately the city, under the Master Development Agreement for the Armour Road redevelopment area, the city is required to pay for these infrastructure improvements, and you approve the contract, though the contract is actually between the developer and Clarkson Construction Company as the general contractor. But there's a line item for to relocate, if you will, the Kansas City Power and Light electrical lines. In other words, they'd be removed from being above ground, and they're going to be relocated. And and it provides for $650,000 up to that amount. But it also, under that agreement, it requires the contractor to pay KCP&L, and then we would go back and that gets to be kind of cumbersome, especially since this money has to be paid up front to satisfy Kansas City Power and Light Company. So what we have is Kansas City, and I'm rounding the numbers, the exact numbers in here, they have a number of $641,000 and change is what they've estimated the total cost to be. So the site letter would allow, A, the city to pay this directly to Kansas City Power and Light Company. B, when they do a true-up is what they call at the end to determine whether or not they owe us money back, or it's the right amount, or there's more money that's owed. If there is more, if we get a refund, the money then comes directly back to the city, okay? Secondly, if there's more money that's owed, as long as it's under the $650,000, it comes out of this line item. The side letter also indicates that if it's an amount over the $650,000, that it then would come out of the contingency that we have in that agreement. And so this is an agreement. This side letter is between the city, the developer, and Clarkson Construction Company. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them as best I can, or call upon people that will know the answers.
I just want to confirm that we budgeted $650,000 for the infrastructure.
Is that right?
We
This
did.
is part of the infrastructure?
Yes.
Okay.
How much in the contingency?
I think it's $400,000 in contingency.
Oh,
Is that right?
Yeah, $641,452.74. Now, how they came up with the 74 cents, I'm not really sure, but that's the way they do it, so.
how much we got in the contingency fund, though? I mean,
we would have plenty in the contingency. 400,000?
Right,
Oh,
that's
okay.
the amount in
Oh, okay.
contingency that was set aside for this project.
But that's not just for this, that's for everything in the project.
Correct.
A certain
Yes.
percentage of expense that could go over, right.
But the contract is a guaranteed maximum price contract. So
Okay,
if
good.
we ever run out, if we run out of contingency, it's on the contractor for any overruns beyond that.
Okay, great.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance authorizing execution of a side letter agreement in connection with the contract services agreement for construction of Mill Street improvements dated April 5th, 2017, involving the Armour Road redevelopment area.
I move that bill number 7278 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9075.
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Lodahl?
Yes.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
An ordinance authorizing execution of a side letter agreement in connection with the contract services agreement for construction of Mill Street improvements dated April 5th, 2017, involving the Armour Road redevelopment area.
13.
Approval of Brownsfield's Voluntary Cleanup Program, BVCP, application and consent for access to property form, lot in Armour Road redevelopment area, bill number 7279, ordinance number 9076.
Eric?
Thank you, sir. I'll call on Mr. Barzee.
Again, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this deals with the Army Road redevelopment area, and specifically Lot 4, which the best way to describe it, it's between where the new Vernon is being built and to the west and where the existing Burger King is. Right there, there's to be a medical office building. They are in the process, that component developer on this in this project is in the process of doing its due diligence, and one of the things that it's requested, there is a program established by MDNR called the Brownsfield Voluntary Cleanup Program. It's administered by MDNR, and what it does is it provides state oversight for voluntary cleanups of property contaminated with hazardous waste. And many of those that don't think that that's necessarily super bad, because many of those are not that poorly contaminated. But what this does is it's a program that allows property owners, business operators, or prospective buyers to participate in this program so that it allows for cleanups up to standards that are acceptable to the state. It gives them some type of a certification afterwards that it has been and it has met those standards. We are not the applicant in this, but as the owner of the property, we have to sign off on it. And for some reason, they put my name to sign it, which is a little unusual, but that's fine. It would authorize me, if this is approved, to sign both the application on behalf of the city as the owner, as well as the consent form to enter upon the property and for MDNR to do their work. In talking to our outside legal counsel, environmental legal counsel, this is a very, very, very common process that you go through. Especially in areas where it's a brownfield, such as this.
I thought that whole area was already tested by us or somebody.
It's not just a matter of, at this stage, yes, there have been multiple Phase 1 environmental site assessments, both Phase 1 and Phase 2 site assessments on the property. We have done some work through there ourselves in conjunction with doing the Vernon Street improvements. In fact, we've cleaned some up, and it's gathered around a fence down there right now. But that doesn't mean there aren't other types of contaminants there. And it wasn't the whole site in any event. Let's just put it that way. It certainly is not the whole site. Certainly, the easternmost portion of this site was included when Rio Tinto did its cleanup under the Superfund site cleanup after we tore down, the city tore down the old Sutherland's building, and they came over certainly into this property area. So this is not really necessarily a cleanup as much as it is for them to get certification after the state does all of its due diligence, et cetera. I will add the application fee and all of those things are paid by the developer, not by the city. We're just basically given permission as the owner of the property.
Oh, okay. Free's good.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
An ordinance authorizing execution of Brownfields Voluntary Cleanup Program, BVCP, application and of consent for access to property form with respect to Lot 4, Armor Road redevelopment, third plat.
I move that bill number 7279 be placed on second and final reading and pass an ordinance number 9076.
Second.
Rick, call roll?
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Lodahl?
Yes.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
An ordinance authorizing execution of Brownfields Voluntary Cleanup Program, BVCP, application and of consent for access to property form with respect to Lot 4, Armor Road redevelopment, third plat.
14.
Resolution opposing the Osage Nation Casino Development Plan, resolution number 18-10.
Eric?
Thank you, sir. The city of North Kansas City is a member of the Home Dock Cities, which are a group of cities in Missouri that have riverboat casinos in their jurisdictions. The Home Dock Cities recently became aware of a proposal by the Osage Nation of Oklahoma to build a casino near Cuba, Missouri. Even though they're centered in Oklahoma, I gather they have certain jurisdictional rights in much of Missouri. The members of the Home Dock Cities regard this as a potential threat to the continued economic health of our riverboat casinos, and the organization is asking each of its member cities to contact the appropriate parties to express opposition. So we've developed a council resolution, and if you adopt it, then we would send information off, send the resolution off to the governor, who needs to support this if it is to happen, as well as the United States Interior Department, including the Bureau of Indian Affairs.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 15.
Resolution opposing the Missouri Video Lottery Control Act, resolution number 18-12.
Eric?
Thanks, sir. Another item that the Home Dock Cities recently became aware of and have asked its members to take a position on regards proposed state legislation that would legalize placement of slot machines in bars, convenience stores, and other establishments across the state. The members of the Home Dock Cities regard this as well as a potential threat to the continued economic health of our riverboat casinos, and therefore a resolution in opposition to this proposed legislation has been prepared for your consideration.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
16.
16, renewal of medical director contract, bill number 7277, ordinance number 9074.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Who made the second? Okay, thank you. An ordinance adopting and approving a contract by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and Stephen L. Russell, M.D., for professional medical advisory services and related professional services.
I move that bill number 7277 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9074.
Second.
Call roll?
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Lodahl?
Yes.
Councilmember Pearman? Yes. Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
An ordinance adopting and approving a contract by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and Stephen L. Russell, M.D. for professional medical advisory services and related professional services.
Okay, number 17.
Number 17, approving accounts due and payable by the city through March 2nd, 2018. Bill number 7280, ordinance number 9077.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through March 2nd, 2018.
I move that bill number 7280 be placed on second and final reading and pass as an ordinance number 9077.
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Lodahl?
Yes.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through March 2nd, 2018.
Mr. Eck.
Thanks, sir. We have two items in your packet under staff comments. One, the upcoming city items of note report, and the other, a report on the progress of our strategic plan action steps. We haven't provided this to you for a while, so my thanks to our new Assistant City Administrator for helping me get this updated. This will probably be the last one that we would update that we'd provide to you prior to holding a new strategic planning session, and our thought was that we would wait until after the election. We know we'll have at least one new member of council after the next election, and then ask about availability perhaps in June for strategic planning session. We spoke to you and you indicated that you'd be amenable to doing this again in the coming months. So that would be our plan. That's all I have, sir.
All right, first of all, I'd like to welcome, we got a couple guests tonight, a couple Boy Scouts here for the community citizenship of the Community Merit Badge. So welcome to the meeting. Then I was able to help with the senior luncheon that they had at that the Rotary Club held at the new Parks and Rec Center, and I want to thank Parks and Rec for their help on that, and as well as it was good attendance, good food, good time. It was great to see the new building and put to good use. And then one more item, got this, it's Severe Weather Awareness Week. So there's no better time than now to go ahead and start making your emergency plan. So that's all I got.
My family and I were able to walk on that beautiful day we had last weekend, I believe it was Saturday, to the Parks and Rec Center, and it was nice to see it, and I got to get a tour, and my son loved the game room. We played some games with some senior citizens that were there. So just wanted to say that. And then also, don't forget that this Saturday is Snake Saturday Parade, and I'm really excited to go to it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And that's all I was going to say is this weekend, Saturday's Snake Saturdays. Parade starts at 11, and I think the fire station, station number 1, is having a pancake breakfast on Saturday morning. And what time does that start?
I believe that starts at 7 o'clock.
7 to 9, or somewhere around there.
I think it's 7 to 11.
7 to 11.
I think that's what I saw.
Hang out and eat pancakes, fatten yourself up, then go to the parade.
Right.
Good plan.
Keep you warm.
So hopefully it's better weather than last year. That's all I have.
Everything they said, I was going to say.
I know. You think you're bad. That's where I'm in every time.
Every time.
That's all, no, I'm
I was just going to reiterate Bryant's comments and welcome the scouts here tonight. I'm sure they're totally excited and riveted on our agenda here, but so welcome them. Just kind of watch the guy that you're with though there. Just keep an eye on him. Other than that, just everybody have a great Snake Saturday, and that's it.
You know, it's what I was going to bring up. Might have been a malfunction of lights, but you know, we said on Swift that on the weekends we was going to have them flashing instead of working normal, except for 18th and Swift, we was going to make it normal for some reason. Well, I went down 18th Saturday, Marilyn and I noticed that the one at 18th and Swift was flashing, and as we stopped, and as we drove through, I looked south, and they was all normal, going through their cycles.
We'll check into that.
Okay. And it might have been a malfunction, I don't know, and might be corrected already.
They have been working on it.
Oh,
There
okay.
were some issues with that 18th Street intersection with some safety concerns at night, so we wanted to get them switched back to normal cycle.
Right.
I know Chris Cooper's been working with the contractor, and there's been some back and forth, but I know they are working on it.
Yeah, I knew we was going to do that, but it was the reverse on Saturday. And welcome to the Scouts, good organization. I was even a scout, believe it or not.
Believe it.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
It was a long time ago. Yeah, they had scouts back then. So, and that's about it for me.
Nothing for me, sir.
Like I say, it's already been said, so thank you. Number 21.
Consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session is requested by the city administrator to be held on this date on a real estate matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute, Section 610.0212.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Lodoff?
Yes.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
22.
Consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session as requested by the city administrator to be held on this date on a litigation matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute, Section 610.0211.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Lodoff?
Yes.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session is requested by the city administrator to be held on this date on a litigation matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute, Section 610.0211.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Lodoff?
Yes.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yep.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.